Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here, and welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on my channel. Today we are back with another F1 2016 career mode video for you guys today here, Season 2, with my Mercedes team. We are here for the Spanish Grand Prix for today's video. Now, I just want to make a quick question, and that is this. Basically, the reason I'm doing another F1 2016 career mode video, as you know, over the last week, I was rotating between F1 2016 and The Journey, is because ever since I've been doing F1 2016 for like the past few weeks now, the response that it's had has been extremely high. Like, I've been getting about 100 plus views on all my videos this season. Not the other two, because of course they've only just gone up recently, but they're already getting close to that mark. The Journey isn't really getting anywhere near that. It's not getting a positive response. So, in the comment section down below in this video, do you want me to continue recording and uploading The Journey as a second series on my channel as well as this one? If you do, drop it a like and a comment. If you don't, then just drop a comment saying, you know, just stick with F1. Basically, just do it that way. You don't need to like the video just to prove the point. Basically, put it this way. If you enjoy the video, obviously make sure to leave a like, obviously, and subscribe if you're not around, if you haven't watched the video before. But if you think that I should continue uploading The Journey, just drop a comment saying that I should. However, if you want me to just stick with F1, drop a comment saying please just stick with F1 because you prefer it more. I want to keep uploading those videos that you guys prefer more, and it seems that F1's just got more viewers coming into the channel, so we'll see. But for now, let's get into the qualifying, and you can see there they are the goals. They obviously want us to get a front row start, they always seem to, and that's just with Mercedes, of course, being the best team on the grid. They want us to get the most out of the car, so that means that we need to really perform for Mercedes. So we're coming around the chicane now here. Kimi Räikkönen there setting a lap on the medium compound tyres. We're going to be coming along here around the final corner in what really was a weird qualifying session, I must be honest. So we come through there and we smash the objective there, or smash the time there. And that is us through into Q2. Into Q2, you can see we may or may not have cut the corner completely there. But we come across now towards the finish line, and once again we set the fastest lap. And I was thinking to myself, this is quite good, you know. We're getting there. We're quite fast. Into Q3 then we go, and again we're coming around the final corner here. Lewis Hamilton sets a very good lap indeed, and then we're coming across to the start-finish line, and we go and absolutely spatter that lap by over a second there. And for some reason, no one went out for another lap. Like, for some reason, they were harder it was harder for me to get there in practice. When it came to qualifying, all of a sudden I was like a second clear or something like that. So qualifying was weird for me. I don't know what I did in qualifying. I don't know if I had this difficulty down by accident, or I have no idea, because I did that, remember, in the British Grand Prix last year or last season. So I think I did the same thing there. So qualifying's a bit weird, but anyway, let's just forget qualifying. Let's get into the race for the Spanish Grand Prix.
What does the Spanish Grand Prix have in store for us today, I wonder? I hope we see some tight wheel-to-wheel action down the main straight, circa Mansell and Senna way back in '91, or maybe we'll have a more strategic race here on a track where overtaking can be difficult. It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint down to turn 1 of this 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of turn 9. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Whereas a driver, there are three big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Okay, remember to protect the inside on the run down to turn 1. Make yourself as wide as possible, robust but fair.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. It's Mercedes in pole position then, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid we have Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel and Verstappen, Alonso, Button, Grosjean and Felipe Massa, Bottas, Gutierrez, Carlos Sainz and Kvyat, Wehrlein, Hulkenberg, Sergio Perez and Rio Haryanto, Magnussen and Palmer, Felipe Nasser and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
I absolutely can't wait. Full wet conditions. We're not going to be making a single pit stop in this race because there's basically just no need for us to make the pit stop because the wet weather tyres will be able to go to the end of the race. But I've never been so happy in my life going onto these full wet tyres. They're amazing. I absolutely love them. These conditions definitely suit my Mercedes perfectly, just on point. No, basically, as soon as I saw that it was raining, I thought if it was on the intermediate tyres, not so bad. But here in Belgium, not here in Belgium, we're in Spain for God's sake, wrong bloody country. But yeah, here in Spain, it's just depressing seeing these full wet conditions. We weren't meant to be in them, but anyway, we're gonna have to deal with it. We have got 3, 4, now 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix here at the Circuit de Catalunya, and it's lights out and away we go, and it's a bad start from us, unfortunately. We have just not got the speed that we needed off the line, way too much wheel spin. Hamilton takes the lead of the Grand Prix. He's got the inside line going into turn 1. You can see everyone trying to flood over to the right-hand side of the circuit. We're going to brake super late, go round the outside of Lewis Hamilton here, and we actually do get back the lead of the Grand Prix. So despite the fact we got a shocking start, we made up for it, and we're back into the lead here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Now we just need to start focusing, and we need to start getting a hand or getting a learning at this circuit, because unfortunately, I've set the car up to run in the dry conditions, and I didn't check the weather forecast. So if I checked the weather forecast, I would have definitely set up the car more to suit these wet weather conditions. But unfortunately, we're just going to have to deal with what we've got and try and get a balance of the circuit here on a very, very dull setup for us. But as you can see, we're starting to already build a gap to Lewis Hamilton, and I'm already doing my automatic wet weather trick. And I'm going to give it to you guys. Now, if you're racing in the intermediate conditions, this tactic doesn't really take into effect. However, if you're racing, and you can see right now I'm on the full wet tyres, so when you're racing in heavy rain, you can see that I haven't actually changed it there. But what you want to be doing is every time you go through the corners, like now, you want to have the fuel in lean mixture. That's right, the slowest mixture possible. You want it in lean. The reason that you want to have your car in lean mixture in the full wet conditions is because you're going to be using less revs. Less revs mean less wheel spin. Less wheel spin means more traction out of the corners in the wet weather conditions, making you faster. So that's a tip for you guys. If you want to race, if you're struggling to race in the full wet conditions and you want to try and maximize your traction, chuck the car into lean fuel mixture for the corners and you'll be able to get the best traction coming out of them. And then as you can see here, when you're on a long straight where you don't need the traction, simply put the car into rich fuel mixture and blast your way down the straights. So let's get a replay of that start then, because of course it wasn't a very good start indeed. We actually bogged down a bit on the start. We were a bit late as well when the lights went green. So as you can see here, we've got the Red Bull of, I believe that is Verstappen, right behind us. He moves over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Hamilton has the lead going into turn 1. But we brake nice and late and we swoop around the outside of Lewis Hamilton, making the move stick. Hamilton then has to sit in behind us. Everything else is actually quite cool behind. There's no contact or anything. I thought there'd be some contact with people locking up their brakes, but not quite. So as you can see there, it's myself, Hamilton, I believe that's Raikkonen, and then Verstappen I said before, unless it's Ricciardo. I could be completely wrong. Not really the best camera angles to see which Red Bull it is, but it's one of the Red Bulls. But as you can see, we're coming now through this middle sector of the circuit, and we start to build a slight gap on Lewis Hamilton already. So we've already got a little bit comfortable. We're still a little bit shaky, but you can see the gap already beginning to build as we come through the end, or coming towards the end of this middle sector. Now you can see there I am with Hamilton behind, and the few Red Bulls there with my beautiful Mercedes car, which for some reason Codemasters still haven't done an update on the Mercedes car, because their front wing does not look like this. You can see there's my front nose cone there. Compare that to the 2016 car, it looks nothing like it. But you can see as we come down into that hairpin, we actually run very, very deep, locking up the brakes. And that's put Lewis Hamilton and Raikkonen back right up my tail. So the gap that we built at the end of the first, or throughout the entire first lap, unfortunately was kind of wasted away in one corner, which is really annoying for myself. Coming down into the chicane now here, the final chicane towards the end of the first lap. You can see that we maintain our position against Lewis Hamilton, but you saw that Kimi Raikkonen got past Lewis Hamilton down this main straight, unfortunately, because I just simply put my car into rich mixture and Hamilton couldn't keep up. There you go, there's Raikkonen coming through on the right hand side of the circuit, and through he goes. So skipping ahead to lap 3 of the Grand Prix now, down into turn 1. You can see Raikkonen is the closest pursuer to myself as we look to try and increase our advantage out front. But unfortunately, it's not going to be the case. We're coming around turn 3 now. You can see here, changing the camera's perspective, we go a little bit wide onto the AstroTurf, and we lose the back end of the car, vigorously losing it, going straight off the circuit there. Literally, I lost all traction on the car going through that sweeping left right-hander. So we lost all momentum. Raikkonen takes the lead of the race. Lewis Hamilton goes into second place, and we drop down into third after a bad mistake by myself. And now I need to start regrouping. We've got the car into lean mixture, and you can see the traction there that we've got on Lewis Hamilton coming down into this left and right-hander, and we get straight back past Lewis Hamilton up into second place. Now we need to start pursuing Kimi Raikkonen and getting back the lead of this race after my silly mistake, which has cost me the lead of this race. So we're skipping ahead to lap 5, and once again the traditional thing of what I do, I knock over the bollard there because I just simply didn't want it to be there, and my pursuit of Kimi Raikkonen is ongoing. But you can see there's my car actually in lean mixture, so I actually show it this time. You can see there in the bottom right hand corner, you can see I've got the car in lean mixture, which is going to give me the best traction coming out of the corners. So we definitely need to continue to do that as we come into the chicane now, the final chicane, making sure everything's nice. And you can see, look at the traction I've got. Very, very nice traction indeed. And we chuck in the car into standard and then eventually into rich fuel mixture. Now our pursuit of Kimi Raikkonen is ongoing. We've got the straight line speed, the slipstream, and the Mercedes power itself. And we're going to blast past Kimi Raikkonen. Even before turn 1, we got past Kimi Raikkonen there. So really super quick from us indeed. Missing the apex of turn 1, which is going to compromise how we go into turn 2 there. And round turn 3, Raikkonen will not be catching us anytime soon. And we managed to get past him all clean, and nothing else to report on that senses. So a little bit of action there, but luckily what we've managed to do now is we've managed to regain the lead after our mistake, which cost us those 2 places. So luckily we still have the speed in the wet at the moment, and we managed to gain back the positions that we actually lost. You see we run a little bit wide there, Raikkonen trying to close us in, but again we got the better traction with our lean fuel mixture as we go use it through these corners here on lap 6 of 17 in the Grand Prix. So we're just trying to settle into it at the moment. Unfortunately, in these wet weather conditions, I struggled a lot in the wet, in the full wets in this Mercedes. I just didn't like the balance of the car. In the McLaren, in the wet, it was very nice, but in this, it just didn't feel so good. But we're skipping ahead now to lap 11 of the Grand Prix. Not a lot's been happening in this race, but now we've got Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso behind us. So somewhere Hamilton and Alonso have both got past Kimi Raikkonen. Don't ask me where, because I ain't got a clue. Unfortunately, luckily for us, we've got a Mercedes 1-2 at the moment. But we need to be wary because Alonso is right behind Hamilton, and Hamilton's also right behind me, so we need to be wary of that. So we're coming around the final corner now. We're chucking the car into rich fuel mixture to give us as much power as we can down the back straight here, or down the pit straight. And as we come across the line there, you can see we have already started to build our way in front of Hamilton. Hamilton's starting to just try and get into my slipstream, but we eventually have enough straight line speed down into turn 1, chucking the car into lean fuel mixture, turning in nice and early, and then trying to make sure that we clip the apex there. Same with turn 2, a little bit too much curbing into turn 2, but we're alright there. Down into turn 3, this long right-hander, which you really need to take. And in the full wet, this is really where it caught me out. You can see it again, getting on that green Astro, and Lewis Hamilton on the left-hand side is going to make a move on us round the outside, but we do cover off Lewis Hamilton. But unfortunately, my aggressive defending on Lewis Hamilton, or my attempts to defend Hamilton to regain the lead, has cost Hamilton, and he is now behind Fernando Alonso. So I do feel a bit bad there for costing Hamilton second place, but at the end of the day, I'm defending my lead in the Grand Prix, so I had every right to do that. Lap 14 of the Grand Prix, and we're skipping further ahead now, and you can see we're breaking down into the right, into the left-hander, and we just need to keep on defending. Alonso is now the closest challenger, and he's still constantly pushing, but we've got yellow flags, and Rio Haryanto is out of the Spanish Grand Prix, and we're going to find out how. So as you can see, down into turn 1, Haryanto there, and his engine has blown up. So Rio Haryanto, the Indonesian beast himself, unfortunately, his engine has given way just in the same fashion as Lewis Hamilton's engine gave way in Malaysia in real life, which cost him the win in the Malaysian Grand Prix, which still to this day pisses me off because I'm a Hamilton fan. But anyway, we're coming on to the end of lap 14 now, and on to lap 15. You can see we lose the back end again massively there. So much, just no traction, no speed in the car there. Alonso comes steaming past. Hamilton comes and rams Alonso up the arse there. So Hamilton really desperate to get past as we break into turn 1. Hamilton sort of backs out of the move and completely gives us the space and gives us the position back. However, Fernando Alonso is in front of us, and he has taken the lead of this race. Yellow flags are actually in front of us, and I believe that is for the manner of Rio Haryanto, who actually parks his car. There it is there. You can see it on the right-hand side there. Haryanto's car parked there. Unfortunately, Alonso has pulled away now. Unfortunately, I really did struggle in these wet weather conditions. I just couldn't get the car, the stability on the car was poor. And the main reason for that was the setup. Like I said, I did a dry weather setup, not a wet weather setup. And of course, since it's not a wet weather setup that I have on the car, I've got a dry setup. That means I'm going to be having a lot less balance in the car. Otherwise, I felt like maybe I could have controlled the race more. Skipping ahead now to the final lap of the Grand Prix, my pursuit of Alonso is still ongoing, but unfortunately, Alonso is just too far into the distance for me to even think about catching. We're braking down into the hairpin, and again, we lock up the car completely, going super wide, and we're actually going to lose another place to Lewis Hamilton this time. So Hamilton gets in front of us. I try and do some sort of switchback, but Hamilton does very well to defend the position. And yeah, we drop down to third, so not a good result at all. We're trying to brake, we're trying everything now to get past Hamilton, but it's just not going to work for us. Hamilton down into the chicane. You can see again, I try something, but there's just not enough time. And annoyingly for myself, we're not going to finish second. We're not even going to finish third. We're going to finish third for today's race. Alonso comes through and wins the Spanish Grand Prix. My teammate Lewis Hamilton takes second place, and we're going to come home and take third. I'm pretty disappointed with that result. I know it's another podium finish, which is consistent, just like the days at McLaren. But I started on pole position, I was leading the race, and it was two mistakes that I did on circuit which cost me the win of the race. Of course, I made the mistake, and I had enough time to catch up to Raikkonen and Hamilton when I made the mistake at the start of the race. When I made the mistake down the pit straight against Alonso, I just didn't have the pace then to catch back up to Alonso. And then on the final lap, when I made another mistake down into the hairpin, Lewis Hamilton simply just had a quarter of a lap to negotiate or to navigate, and he would have come home there and took second place. So pretty frustrating, that Grand Prix, but yeah, I mean, we tried in the Grand Prix, but unfortunately the setup just wasn't there for me today, with me picking the dry setup and not the wet weather setup. But overall, guys, if you have enjoyed this race, remember to drop a like on it. It means that you are supporting the series a lot, and you guys are giving a lot of feedback for that. Remember, do you still want me to record and upload the journey on FIFA 17? If you do, let me know in the comment section down below. But as you can see then, after this result, we managed to stay as we are. I just accidentally pressed A, but I went back so you guys could see the standings. Overall then, an okay result. We could have done better. Next up, we have got Monaco. We don't make any upgrades for the Monaco Grand Prix, and we're going to be saving those upgrades ready for the power circuits of Canada and Austria, and then we're going to be focusing on the downforce then for the next 3 races. But as you can see, in the driver standings, we still maintain the lead in the driver standings, and then as we have already flipped to the constructor standings, we are in front of McLaren Honda. But that is going to be it then for today's video. If you have enjoyed it, again, drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here. And yeah, I will see you guys for the Monaco Grand Prix, which will be the next one. But first of all, I'm just going to quickly show you the results points. So we're up to 1,100, so we're closing in on some big upgrades in the future. Take care. Peace.